Absolutely. Very much kind of gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather here together, Lord. I pray that you're in the midst. I pray, Lord, that you would guide our thoughts and the words that we speak, Lord, that we would do the best for the county as a whole. Lord, I thank you for each and every household that's represented here. Lord, I thank you for all the things you do for us. Continue to lead, guide, and direct us. Always favor us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Luke, Clint.
Liberty and justice for all. Everyone, please make yourself aware of the ethics clearance conflict reminder. Do we have any additional changes to the agenda this evening?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to add 10C, a resolution supporting the reclassification of Mitchell County 911 dispatcher. I'd also like to add 10D, which is the approval to move forward with the opioid settlement litigation and authorize county manager to sign the opioid legal document. And 10, the resolution authorizing execution of the opioid settlements and approving the supplemental agreement for additional funds between the state of North Carolina and local governments on proceeds relating to the settlement of the opioid litigation.
Do I have a move? We second. All in favor, the usual sign. Motion carried. Do I have a move? We adopt the agenda with these changes. So move. Second. All in favor, vote the usual sign. Motion carries. So we looks like we've got a slew of public comments this evening. So we're going to, so for public comments, we're just to let you know how this works. We're going to do, everybody will have 3 minutes to speak. And so if you've got something you want to say, you need to fill out one of these blue cards. Please make sure if you hadn't, fill it out and bring it up. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. We'll set a timer. So when you hear that timer, just know your time's up and we'll move on to the next person. And we'll start with Mr. Howard Larson. Good.
Hey, how you doing? I'm here. I want the commission to reconsider your resolution passed on February 6th for dealing with school board elections. Because if we go to a partisan election, 30% of the voters in this county will have to go out. If they want to be a school board member, they will have to go out and collect 436 signatures from registered voters as of today, and on the total registered. And I believe we're putting a roadblock on opening up democracy in something that should be more important than political affiliation. We have a lot of good people in this county. I think at current school board, there's one unaffiliated, I believe, when I check. And I just really think we should get more input from the public. And if everybody thinks it's a great idea, then it's a great idea. But to be pushed through right now, I think it's just another tool in good old boy politics that we need to start avoiding, because we don't need to take 30%. As a Democrat, you all know I don't believe in hard liberal on most issues, and you're concerned about here people knowing values. Well, if we really made all our elections nonpartisan, you'd find that this bleeding heart liberal here, when it comes to Second Amendment, child issues, because some of you all look like moderates. But we just really need to consider this. And I think this commission say, let's put this on a back burner, get public input, get hold of Ralph, get hold of Dudley and say, put it on hold before it gets done, because it's a lot harder to undo than to get it done right the first time. And that's my main concern. I'm not here if you be an article in the paper, a letter I wrote. And unfortunately, it's from the Mitchell County Democrats. It's not. It's from Howard Larson. I used the wrong email when I sent it to the newspaper. And I really want you all to consider it. I don't think a political party is a litmus test for someone's qualifications to serve on the school board. That's basically all I have to say. And you all have a good evening, because I think y'all gonna be here, really. Thank you.
Next is Mr. John Hall.
Well, I want to echo Mr. Larson's concerns, and I've spoken with you of them. I've been involved in Mitchell County schools all my life. And I've never asked myself what was the political affiliation of somebody running for school board. And it hurt my feelings when somebody said that a person's party affiliation was the best indication of their values. That's not true. If any of you believe that's true, then the cause is lost. But I think you have to let people, just because a person doesn't walk in lockstep with a party affiliation, does not mean they don't have character, doesn't mean they don't have good ideas. Some of the best people in our school system ever have been those who thought independently and did what they believed right here was right. Now, I know you all, and I like you all. But I'm telling you, if you let this stand without giving the people more input, I will not vote for you.
Thank you, John. Ms. Jan Henry.
Well, I'm going to echo the other two, but I'm also going to say that, and so is my predecessor here, born and raised in this county. And I love this county. I came back here after I retired to live. And I see how the country is going right now, and it makes me really sad that I feel that there's not an even between the two parties, the third parties. I just feel like we're in chaos. But I'm going to ditto these two men. Being a Democrat or Republican should have nothing to do with your qualifications to be on a school board or your desire to be on a school board. And the thing that bothers me is that this feels to me like a slippery slope coming in subversively to undermine democracy. If I was a Republican, I would say the same thing. I'm a Democrat, a proud Democrat, but that makes no difference. The school board should not be Democrat or Republican. It should be the qualified people. And I'm hearing through the grapevine, and I'm a Christian. I love Jesus. I talk about Jesus. He is my Savior. But we have to have an open dialogue. And, prayer in school, I'm hearing two things. They want prayer back in school, and they want to do away with critical race theory. Well, I'm so tired of hearing that too. But I live in a country where I should be able to discuss anything I want to discuss and have an answer to anybody that asks me a question. I have a right. I don't want my rights taken away just because the preacher's on the school board and he wants to do whatever he wants to do. That's not how the school board ought to run. And I don't have any children, but I don't want to see my democracy go down the drain. And this is just the beginning. This is a slippery slope. It's just going in there, misdirection. And I'm upset because, as I say, I'm a Christian, but I don't think a lot of things are going on in the United States of America is Christian-like. And, that's how I feel. And I hope that you all will think about it before you say you have to enter a Democrat or Republican and you've got to get so many percentages. That's not fair. That's not right. That's ridiculous.
Thank you. Next on the public comment is Melissa McKinney for the subdivision ordinance.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Sutton, spoke here tonight. Subdivision ordinance, it was passed back in September. First and foremost, everybody, I think, was shocked when it was, I don't think it brought to anyone's attention until a couple of weeks ago. And in my opinion, it does take away the property owner's rights, because it does not allow the property owner themselves to choose who they divide their lots up and sell it to people. And that does, give not, it doesn't give the property owner their choice of who they sell their lot to. And it also, in my opinion, it does limit the growth of the county with the regulations that you put on these lots. As some of the regulations in this ordinance, like the lots that will have like 6 inches of gravel on the roads, no spring water, a 15-foot, no bigger than a 15-foot, elevation and stuff like that. You've got to think where we live. We live in the mountains of North Carolina. You've got to make this ordinance. Look at where we live. I want one of you to show me a driveway that's got 6 inches of gravel on it. Will you take me out into this area and show me one driveway? Will you show me one road, private road, that's got a 2-foot right of way on either side of it? Can you? This ordinance is ridiculous. There is not any builder that would come into Mitchell County and follow this. Right now, there is just a little over 14,000 people live in Mitchell County. Am I correct? That's the tax base for this county. That's what's supporting this county. What are you trying to do? I mean, really, don't stop what you're trying to do. Stop the road. Somebody's got to pay bills here. Is this bringing people into this county? Is this causing building? When you stop building, you stop contracting, you stop grade work, you stop people from going to Ace Hardware out here, you stop people from going to Grace Creek. Did you think about that when you was like this? When you told someone that they couldn't divide up their lots and sell them themselves, was you thinking about telling someone, we're going to have a committee, we're going to have as a board? Who's on this board? I looked, if I seen this board, but I didn't see no names on this board. Who's on this board? Is there a board? Who's on it? The first one, who's on it? I mean, you're just going to tell this board that they can name the people. Instead of consider it. You prove on the county.
Real quick, he was going to speak before I got out. By the way, so go ahead. Next comment.
Appreciate everybody. We always appreciate opinions. So we'll talk a little bit about some key information related to the Mitchell County subdivision ordinance. Because I think there's a lot of things that are just circulating around that, got to be factually in database. So some of the procedural key points regarding the Mitchell County subdivision ordinance. This was done correct in procedure. Mitchell News Journal and Mitchell County website posted the notice as general statute requires for 2 consecutive weeks prior to the public hearing. A public hearing, which I wish y'all had been here, was live streamed on August 1st, 2022 at the commission meeting for statute. There were no opponents of the ordinance at the public hearing and one supporter. Vote was tabled to allow for more input and finally voted on and approved at the August 16th, 2022 commission meeting. The subdivision ordinance went into effect on September 15th, 2022. Now, the spirit and purpose of the subdivision ordinance is as follows. This is an ordinance designed for land developers who are dividing land to sell for profit. Another spirit and purpose was to ensure that emergency vehicles, and more specifically, fire trucks, can access residents in case of emergency. Another spirit and purpose, make buyer aware of potential building and site issues when purchasing property. To protect neighboring landowners from erosion and sedimentation due to poorly planned land developments. To protect the environment from pollution resulting from improper development of mountainous land. Allow for the allocation of enough property to meet health department requirements for the installation of septic fields and wells. So the need for a subdivision ordinance should be evaluated in this context. Since 2022, Mitchell County has experienced record real estate sales. There is a need to provide for public safety, orderly growth, and future development in our county. Often, uninformed and/or sketchy outside investment groups purchase mountain property and are only concerned about maximizing profit. Some developers and real estate companies want to flip and rip buyers. The failed village of Penland is an example of poor planning on various levels that resulted in buyers losing their investment. The subdivided properties at Village of Penland are difficult to sell to this day because lots were subdivided too small to meet state well and septic code regulations. Currently in Mitchell County, there are developments in which fire trucks and emergency vehicles are unable to access. If you spend much time here, you're going to drive on an unusually steep and winding road into a local development. Imagine attempting to respond to a house fire with a family in danger and getting stuck due to poor road design. Providing for the safety of present and future residents is addressed in the new subdivision ordinance. Failing to plan is planning to fail. This applies to property. Subdivision ordinance provides framework for investors and owners to properly plan a subdivision that takes into account surrounding property owners' rights, public safety, and environmental concerns. Mitchell County has an ethical obligation to ensure public safety, protect surrounding landowners, and make buyers aware of the unique requirements to build in our beautiful mountains. All right, we're balancing the right of neighboring landowners with those who wish to subdivide and sell on open markets. For subdividers, I know there's some here. The Mitchell County subdivision is substantially less stringent than the state of North Carolina general statute on subdivision regulation. You can look that up in subdivision regulation GS 160D-801 through 160D-808. There is limited opposition to the ordinance by some land developers who feel that the Mitchell County subdivision ordinance cuts into profits because it impacts their ability to sell hard to access tracts. All right, some landowners say, I don't like the government telling me what I can do on my own property. What do I say to that? What do we say? Mitchell County strongly supports and respects landowner rights. Please know that there are local landowners, but also outside developers who are also influenced by investors. Each have different motives. The Mitchell County subdivision ordinance was set up to balance the rights and needs of landowners, consumers, and developers. Here are some noteworthy exceptions focused on preservation of landowner rights. So when you hear these exceptions, it's probably not going to apply to maybe 0.5% of the county, if that much. The subdivision ordinance does not limit what a landowner can do on property they currently own. It only applies if one decides to subdivide it into 6 or more lots and sell land on open market. That's Article 5, Section 1 of the Mitchell County subdivision ordinance. The ordinance respects the right of the landowner to divide heritage land within the family because it does not apply if the division of land is among family members, Article 5, Section 2C. The ordinance does not apply if the landowner or developer subdivides it into larger than 5-acre lots. For example, if the landowner subdivides 250 acres, they can divide it into 49 lots that are 5.1 acres per lot and be completely exempt from this ordinance. That's Article 5, Section 2A. So my conclusion here is the Mitchell County Subdivision Ordinance was designed to be a very lightweight ordinance geared towards land developers who are dividing land to sell for profit. The major intention behind creation of the subdivision ordinance was the provision for public safety. Specifically, the Mitchell County Subdivision Ordinance lays out requirements for road construction that allows for access of fire trucks and other emergency vehicles. The ordinance balances landowner rights and encourages family preservation of heritage land. It does not apply to the division of land among family members. It further protects neighboring landowners by requiring developers to install proper drainage and erosion controls. The ordinance protects buyers by requiring setbacks and lot sizes to accommodate well and sewage state code requirements. There are many exceptions in the Mitchell County subdivision ordinance that make it not applicable to most Mitchell County landowners. The commission board gave extensive thought to the Mitchell County subdivision ordinance and received input from local citizens, fire departments, public safety inspections, environmental health officials, real estate professionals, and legal consultants. We welcome your comments. Please feel free to talk to me as county manager. If you got specific concerns, I'm noting them. I'm bringing them to our attorney. We want to make sure there's not anything in there that does need changing. We're open-minded to that. So that is our statement.
So let me just say, I know in this public forum, you've got a certain amount of time. Thank you guys, first of all, and foremost, for coming and speaking. I mean, that's what democracy is all about. But if you do have specific questions, comments that you want an answer for, this is really, it's hard to get that in here. We can't answer those questions, but please email the county manager. We'll take those as a board and answer and get those answers back to you. So I just want to say that. But next I got on the list, Bill and Angela Kleiner.
Thanks, all. I had a question about that. So I think you just answered your statement though, was what precipitated the creation of this ordinance? Because it just seemed like from what you just read, I wasn't aware that part of it was because of the current land developers that were coming in and doing things like that, because it does seem like it's geared more towards, individual people, or if they want to sell their homes or they want to do anything, they have to ask for government permission, or not permission, but almost like permission to be able to do that. And that's where it just, maybe because of the terminology or the way it was written, it just wasn't clear as to why this was created.
Thanks.
My name is Peter Franklin. I am a realtor, and I am. I'm here tonight to stand in opposition of your subdivision ordinance and to tell you that I 100% disagree with you and your rebuttal to what's being said about it. However, that being said, I respect you as board of county commissioners, and I realize that this meeting was not about this tonight, and that we came out because we're here having just learned about this, okay? And so there's a lot that needs to be said. I think you said 3 minutes, and I have had the opportunity to talk to both Harley and Brandon, who've been very open about looking at different things on it. And today I've got an opportunity to talk with our building inspector, who I went through with him a lot of my concerns. And he says that they're willing to look at these things and that there is current discussion on some of the stuff that I've raised in my issues that I've put online. Now, that being said, I'm here tonight. I want to request that you repeal
this ordinance until there is a proper public hearing, that you are hearing from the people. I request that you repeal the ordinance because you have not spoken to the professionals that are in the field, from the developer, the good developer, or even the evil developer, and the realtors that are involved in this and that have issues. There are major issues in this. Even if I was in favor of it, even if I said this is great, there's still a major issue concerning realtors and the whole, if you find somebody, has violated your ordinance, then how's realtors to know about it? How are we supposed to do our due diligence and be able to report that to our customers who's buying a lot, who won't be able to get a building permit? There's several issues to look at in this. Please put us on the March agenda. Give us a chance for a public hearing. Give us a chance to talk about this. Your ordinance point blank says up front, number one, and this is my biggest issue, is subdivision defined for the purposes of this ordinance. A subdivision shall mean any division of real estate into 6 or more lots or parcels for the purpose of sale. That's grandma selling it, me selling it, or whoever's selling it. That's a division like this of 10 acres, and you got a highway 226, and you don't have intentions of building the development. You just want to let somebody build their own. You want to say, hey, here's these lots for sale, sell them off, they can build their own driveways. I shouldn't have to comply with this whole ordinance because I want to do that. But this is pure and clear. It says for the purposes of sale. It doesn't say for the purposes of building a subdivision ordinance.
Like I said, if you got more questions, please send them over. I know you sent some that I want to get. Martha Johnson.
That was my biggest concern. I'm a property owner of 30 acres. We farm. We're currently only using about 5 or 10 acres of it. If we wanted to divide up our property, actually 226 runs, 80 runs right through our property. So if we were to sell the property, we wouldn't need roads and things like that. So that was my biggest concern as a homeowner, as a property owner. It just says sale of property. If we and we didn't have intention of doing that, but if we were ever to decide that we needed to sell some property, my husband and I both retired. If we, came in hard times and decided we wanted to cut off, do some of our lots, we wouldn't be doing it as a subdivision, but it would be sale as a private owner. And it wouldn't even be lots that we would require roads because our property is on both sides of a highway. So there's immediate access right there. So, I just had questions, and I like that you are giving us the opportunity to email and ask questions, but this was one of my biggest questions. As a private property owner, if we should need to, and want to, our property wouldn't fall into a subdivision, but yet would fall into, we would still meet the laws as far as land or wells and septic tanks. So, thank you. That's all I have to say.
Very good.
Thank you, Steve.
Adam,
Really good. Are you?
thanks for coming out.
Before I get into this, I know my time is going to run out, so I would request that if a hearing be held specifically to this at the Mitchell County Courthouse, because we didn't get a chance to bring all our people out tonight. We're going to get them on, on board, give them notice and have them over here. But I would request that before, I've heard Mr. Cook speak to this and say this is a very non-restrictive. I would take exception to that. Avery County has an 18-degree road slope. Y'all put it in at 15. Moderate sloping roads are 12. It's 20 degrees. I mean, why can't we have the higher number than the, lower, toward the lower? And I would ask, I've been developing property on some level, subdividing for over 30 years. And I know a lot of problems that you have when you're trying to do it in the mountains, and I would just ask how many we all have ever subdivided property on any level. I mean, you're talking about the gravel. Yancey County's got a 4-inch, deep gravel. You're making it 6 inches. By my way of figuring, that adds 50% of my cost right up front, 4 inches to 6 inches. So I mean, where do you get that 6-inch number? And the problem with this thing is too, you're going to fix it to where the only people that are going to be able to afford a lot around here are people moving in. You guys represent us, the people from this county. Your people going to do a subdivision for double lots and try to live around here like that. They ain't going to be able to afford this stuff. You're bringing people in that $500 $1 million houses. That's who's going to be able to afford this. And also I would say that your 5 acre to accept out of the subdivision, I believe that's too high. They need to make it 3 acres. You talk about Penland, and Mr. Cook made an interesting point. He said they violated the state laws when they did Penland. So where's everybody watching the hen house? Where's Lloyd Heiss at when they did Penland? Why didn't we hear a peep out of him when they were doing Penland? And somebody here watching these laws on that. The laws are already on the books for a lot of this stuff. They're just not being enforced. We don't need laws on top of laws. We need what's there enforced, and then you're not gonna have a lot of these problems. We've never had a subdivision problem in this county besides Penland. And they're talking about the fire trucks. They get the fire trucks up to, on these Forest Service fire trucks. You don't need to screw up $30 million worth of property over a $350,000 fire truck. These New York City ladder trucks don't work on these mountains around here. You need to get smaller fire trucks if that's a problem. I mean, so I like to do.
Next is Mr. Beth Walker.
I'm Beth Walker, and I really don't have a whole bunch to add after these guys, but one of the things that came to mind when Mr. Cook was doing this thing is, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I think in the last 3 years in this country, we have seen what the public good and public safety and how our rights were violated under the guise of public good and public safety. So I think we need to be really, really careful about that. And one of the things you said particularly was that these laws are less stringent than the North Carolina laws. So that implies that everything in here was already covered by North Carolina statute, which we don't, so it means we either don't need it, or why are we making it weaker than what the North Carolina statute is? So that was, I written that down when you said it. So I'm not quite sure why we need as an area so adequately, because why do we need more laws on more laws? I mean, look at gun laws. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of gun laws, and we just keep adding more. We're not enforcing the ones that are already there. So Panama was 15 years ago, and people look now wearing their eyes say that's the only development problem we've had. So I don't know why we need this. And I would also respectfully request, let's repeal it. Let's have public hearings. If this is really a crisis, but it's being made to seem like it is, let's actually have the public. I know y'all didn't follow the rules and you put it in the paper. I'm a small business owner. I'm in and out of town a lot, dealing with elderly parents. I have no idea when this was even being discussed, because as a property owner of 45 acres, I would have been there. So we didn't know. I mean, we have great forums on Facebook that tons of people, biggest, more than the local paper, are on the Let's Talk Street Time page. Let's put it there. Let's put it like who actually want to participate, you're going to see it. We have most of us had to put it without legal blindsight. So I would just ask that, yes, let's repeal it. Let's look it over. And if you have all this documentation that you were talking about with all the experts, then let's make it available so we can see. But I have, I've read through the ordinance, so I don't have any idea what went into backing it up. I just know government tends to, no offense to you all, but we tend to overstep when if we don't need it and it's already covered by the state. Why are we adding layers of bureaucracy and expense to the citizens and taxpayers and landowners?
Next is Bill Frank.
I'll make it quick. I didn't always want to have a witness tonight. But anyhow, we are a petition order. Have a few signatures on it. Started at the county line. And mainly I hit the business clientele, business people, which got businesses. And they seem to think we don't need this, absolutely don't need this subdivision ordinance. And, I told them, well, it goes on 162 years without one. Now's not a good time to bring something like this up. There's several reasons. The cost of living is going ridiculous. The dollar bill has so shrunk down to nothing. And you go buy things, it's ridiculous. And, it's, scary for a lot of people, even me. But anyhow, the people I talked with, they've had a lot of concerns about this ordinance. And I said, that's a good start. Petition's a good start. You know, we start with that and we point out. And, but you know, that's a good start. So. But anyhow, I'm going to talk about truck driving a little bit. I'm a professional truck driver. I don't drive no more. But I was 17 years old, driving for Harris Mining Company, Chevrolet panel dump truck. We saw the play of the play lines at Harris Play up at Mooresville. Back in the days, you got a chauffeur's license. I've drove dump trucks, cement trucks, tractor trailers, you name it, I about drove it out to. There's a question about getting a fire truck up some of these hills. I've worked on some of the steepest ground in Mitchell and Yancey County and Avery County, because I'm at the county line. And there's some steep hills around. But we got cement trucks in, we got trucks in order to build a house up on top of a ridge, to do your footers and stuff, for cement and your footers and stuff, you can get a cement truck. You start out with the dump truck, build your gravel road first, get your cement truck up there, and go to it. And I've done a lot of house footers and septics and so on. And I didn't, what you'd say, see an issue with getting a fire truck up there. If you can get a 26-ton cement truck up there and a tandem dump truck loaded with gravel, I don't see you couldn't get a fire truck. It's a no-brainer kind of thing. And I was telling some fire department people the other day, we just had a little discussion, and I told them they take horsepower, you gotta put horsepower under that hood. And I said, it's plain giant. I said, nowadays you can get a Caterpillar diesel, 550 horsepower. If that don't get you up that hill, you don't need to go. So, I mean, I see bigger things in this ordinance. And, but like I say, the main people don't want it. And they're all business people. And, thanks. Thank you.
Last on the agenda here for the public comments is Ashley Bean.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ashley Bean. I'm the president of the Mitchell County Fire Association and the chief of Bakersville Fire Department. I make this quick because I don't even like to hear myself talk. But on behalf of the Fire Association, we came to the board a little while back about problems we were seeing with housing developments, that you couldn't get a regular pickup truck in, let alone a fire truck. And if any of you doubt me on that, take your truck to the last house on Shootout Mountain. That, when we came to approach the board about that problem we were seeing, that was in 1999. We're a little farther in that now, and you know, it's not up to me what goes in or stays out, but I am the one that has to stand there and explain to people why their house burned down. I'm the one that has to drag dead bodies out along with the rest of the firemen in Mitchell County. Yes, I want business, I want growth, that's all I want for this county, but you got to do it safely. You wouldn't let Walmart build a building that would kill people if they caught on fire. We shouldn't let housing developers, land developers do the same thing.
To Mr. Kivett, little fire trucks are great. You don't fight big house fires with little bitty fire trucks. You get people killed that way. Yeah, we don't need New York City fire trucks either. I agree with you. There's a happy balance, but you gotta be able to get that. To the gentleman that drives trucks, I agree with you 100%. You need horsepower, you need the right trucks, and I need drivers, so if you'd like to come to Bakersville, I've got a seat behind anything you want to drive. And I'm sorry for my voice, I don't know what's going on with it, but ladies and gentlemen of the board and of the community, we do have to have some common sense with everything we do, but you do have to put life safety at the top of that. You don't want to tell people why their kid died because nobody enforced anything. Somebody put $1 million house at the end of $100 road. That's all I have to say. Thank y'all so much.
Commissioner Pittman, I had a question in regards to Martin's comment that she brought up, she thought it went down. If you're subdividing land that falls along a major highway corridor. And I don't know the answer to that question, so I'll refer to our county attorney.
Yes, sir. Under the present ordinance, if all of the lots would adjoin public road or highway, there would not be a need for additional road infrastructure. So therefore, there would not be the need to construct or maintain roads that would meet the ordinance standards because you already connect each lot to the public road. And also the subdivision ordinance does not address individual driveways. It deals with the community roads that would access lots otherwise within the community and not just the individual driveway for the lot. If that's helpful, Mr. Pittman.
Would you still have to go before the board though and submit plans and fees in order to do that?
Under the current ordinance, you wouldn't have to do a subdivision plat and submit it for approval. But the infrastructure would not necessarily be required as far as the roads are concerned because the state DOT or other local road entity takes care of it.
Thank you, Glass.
I think that's a good point.
So I guess I have a couple questions if that's fine. So Tony, these are probably directed to you, so sorry to put you on the spot. But can you tell me why the, I believe it was Peter or Gary or somebody was saying that this was already state law? Is it my understanding that you cannot implement it unless you have adopted the state law? Is that correct?
Board of Commissioners. That's the way I understand it.
And so is that where the 6 inch of gravel come into play from the state regulation?
It is.
Okay. So
How did I can get out of the their subdivision? The 16th and 20.
Well, I do have one question on, are there currently any subdivisions being built in Mitchell County that are being in compliance with this? Have they had any issues? Have you heard any group from these
There is.
developers?
There are two that started before this came into effect. They both have the road requirements that are in this ordinance in place. One of them is on Highway 80. The other one is out on Highway 226, Rio Dos. How do you say that, Jim?
Rio Dos.
I guess I have one more question, but this, to get it out of your own mouth, this subdivision ordinance only applies to developers developing subdivisions.
That's the way I see it.
All right, thank you.
like I say, we appreciate you guys coming out tonight and voicing your concerns. We'll take that. Please send your comments, questions, because we need to understand, I want to understand more about it. So I encourage anybody to send us questions, and we'll take them about when we get back with you. Okay, if not, we'll move on to item number 9, which is approval of our minutes from WAC. Item number 10, hiring authorization. We need to vote to authorize county reality commissioners. Until we were just starting to make decisions, if you want to hire to do that. We have a motion to authorize county manager. Commissioner Jeff Harden, make so motion carries. Balance. Forward on that. Item number 3 is a budget amendment number 4.
Budget amendment is actually decreasing the budget for about $50,000. Most of the reason is because the state transportation capital budget is often on hold. Most of those people were not clear, project that she had in mind to do was taken, but all to see those carried over probably for next year's budget. That's the biggest reason for the reduction. We went ahead and pulled that out before budget time. Budget workshop, we figured it, we need to pull those out ahead of time. The rest of it is just, money in and out. Any questions you have?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, vote for you to sign. Motion carries. Item number 10C is resolution supporting the reclassification of Mitchell County 911 dispatchers. I believe that is. This is a resolution supporting the reclassification of Mitchell County 911 dispatchers. Whereas in September of 2021, U.S. Department of Torres and Brown dispatchers, 911 Saves Act passed with the House as part of the fiscal year 2022 National Defense Authorization Act. The 911 Saves Act for bipartisan legislation to reclassify 911 dispatchers from office and administrative support to protective services occupation. Patients in the Office of Management and Budget Standards Occupational Classification SOC catalog, and whereas 911 dispatchers are the first line of response during an emergency, they deserve to be classified in a way that recognizes their work as a part of the work of other public servants classified as public responders. And whereas Senator Regan Burger introduced the reclassification bill in the U.S. Senate, where it remained, and whereas 911 inspectors working with elected officials reintroduce this legislation in the next Congress, and what will assist this effort. Whereas the Mitchell County Board of Commissioners is in support of such a legislative change, now therefore be it resolved that by the Mitchell County Board of Commissioners, that the Mitchell County Board of Commissioners is in support of bipartisan legislation to reclassify 911 dispatchers from office and administrative support to protective service occupations in the office management and budget standards occupational classification SOC catalog, adopted this 21st day of February 2023. To have a motion, we adopt this resolution. Second.
Second.
All in favor, vote by the usual sign. Motion carries. Next item on the list is 10D and this is the approval to move forward with opioid settlement litigation and authorize county manager to sign opioid legal documents. I have a motion that we approve that. Second.
Second.
All in favor, vote for usual sign. Motion carries. That was crazy. I was like, I know I had slipped at this thing. I don't know where it went in this file, but there we go. Item number 10E is the resolution authorizing execution of opioid settlements and approving the supplemental agreement for additional funds between the state of North Carolina and local governments on proceeds related to the settlement of opioid litigation. And I do apologize for reading all these resolutions. I know it's painful. I'm not like Ashley. I don't like to hear myself talk, let alone read. So, and this one's got 2 pages. So y'all settle in for a nice sleep here. Resolution by the County of Mitchell authorizing execution of opioid settlements and approving the supplemental agreement for additional funds between the state of North Carolina and local governments on proceeds relating to the settlement of opioid litigation. Whereas the opioid overdose epidemic has taken the lives of more than 32,000 North Carolinians from 2000 to 2021. Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has compounded the opioid overdose crisis, increasing the levels of drug misuse, addiction, and overdose death. And whereas the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimates the total economic burden of prescription opioid misuse alone in the U.S. is $78.5 billion a year. It's crazy. Including the cost of healthcare, loss productivity, addiction treatment, and criminal justice involvement. And whereas certain counties and municipalities in North Carolina join with thousands of local governments across the country file lawsuits against opioid manufacturers, pharmaceutical distribution, and chain drug stores to hold these companies accountable for their misconduct. And whereas settlements have been reached in litigation against Walmart, Teva Pharmaceuticals, Allergen Finance LLC, Allergen Limited, CVS Health Corporation, CVS Walgreens Company, as well as their subsidiaries, affiliates, officers, and directors named in these settlements. And whereas representatives of local North Carolina governments, North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, North Carolina Department of Justice have negotiated and prepared a supplemental agreement for additional funds, SAAF, to provide the equitable distribution of these proceeds within these settlements. And whereas by joining these settlements and approving the SAAF, state and local governments maximize North Carolina's share of opioid settlement funds to ensure the needed resources for its communities as quickly, effectively, and effectively as possible. And whereas it's advantageous to all North Carolinians for local governments, including Mitchell County and its residents, to sign on to the settlements and SAAF and demonstrate solidarity in response to the opioid overdose crisis and maximize the share of opioid settlement funds received both in the state and county to help abate the harm. And whereas the SAAF directs substantial resources over multiple years to local governments on the front lines of opioid overdose epidemic, while ensuring that these resources are used in an effective way to address the crisis. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Mitchell County hereby authorizes the county manager or county attorney to execute all documents necessary to enter into opioid settlement agreements with Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Allergen, and Teva to execute the SAAF and to provide such documents to Rubus, the implementation administrator. Adopted this the 21st day of February 2023. To have a motion to adopt this resolution. Yes, ma'am.
No, I-
So moved. I'll be there both my usual stuff. Since you took care of the last week before. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. I'll move we accept this consent agenda.
So
Second, all in favor, vote to use the sign.
I'm gonna take a 5-minute recess.
Take 5 minutes recess.
No.
Okay, that helps better.
For all my points.
Next on the agenda is the finance officer report. Finance office.
We don't have anything except, I will say that, county manager and I did review the auditor, and then we have met with both of them, and we'll bring that to the board. The other thing is, and I think I mentioned this last time, we will, start doing budget worksheets, and those are going to go out next week. Departments are due March 24th, outside agencies are going to be due April 15th this year. So we'll talk about that next month too. If you may have any other questions, I'd be glad to. That's all I have.
County manager report.
Yes, got a lot going on. I met with the law enforcement center architect today, and that's moving along. The project's going well. We're specifying IT, security, floor layout. That plan should be construction ready by April 24th. Hopefully in mid-May to go out for bids with construction starting on that project. And we hope in August. That project is done with grant funding, so it's not out of taxpayers' money. It is grant funded from the state SCIF grant. Another project that we're really happy about is we had a board-on-board meeting Thursday last week with the Mitchell County School Board. And if you drive through Ledger, you'll see some tracos and bulldozers pulled out on that green property. And we're getting ready to have a middle school built. So that middle school was built with $40 million in grant money. Very appreciative from our state folks. Ralph Heiss been very instrumental in getting that money to help our county, and the need is there. So we're very happy about that. There will be a groundbreaking ceremony for that this Friday at noon. So we're very happy to work with the school board on that project. The other thing we have going on is the Mitchell County Recreational Center in Bakersfield. And so that's another grant funded project. We have a SCIF grant and a $2 million, or a part of the grant for $1 million and a SCIF grant for $2 million. And we're still raising some money on that. We're starting our site development. We've got our scope of work. We hope to be moving forward on that project maybe 2 months out. So we're working on site development. We'll do RFQs to get an architect out there, and that's going to be very exciting. So picture out what we got going on in Bakersfield real quick, and I'll lend my time. We're going to have an indoor gym, full size basketball courts, indoor walking track around it. So on a cold day, you need a place here in Bakersfield to go down and walk, get some exercise, get away from the kids, whatever it might be. You can come down there. We'll have free workout equipment. So what you'll have is some treadmills, some ellipticals, some equipment there that you can work out on. And we're going to have classroom space. So if any of y'all want to lead up some kickboxing, anything like that, we're going to have a lot of fun stuff going on with our Parks and Rec. So the final thing is down the road, Bowman Middle School. We're going to work on a rehab for that, maybe 3 or 4 years out. We have a lot of stuff going on in our county, and our departments are awesome. Every one of them. I'm privileged to work for our departments and our staff, as well as our commission board.
Thank you. County manager. Don't believe there's any need for a closed session this evening. More comments, Commissioner Pitt?
I'll take a moment to, I was sitting over upon the reason I called a recess, because I was looking for a paper I wanted to see. I know the paper quoted me, and I introduced the resolution to make school board meeting partisan. And I wanted to see what I said specifically, because Mr. Hoffman spoke tonight, and it quoted me, I think it was saying something akin to, your political party is the best indicator of your character. And
I don't recall saying that. I may have, when you're nervous, you say things sometimes that don't come out quite right. So if I said that, that is not how I feel. I have many friends on both sides of the political aisle. My kids go over to the strong Democrat's house and play on the weekend. So what I meant by that was your political affiliation is the best indicator where you stand on current issues. So I think that's what I was hoping to clarify, but I couldn't find a paper.
Sorry, sorry. I'm voting on whether to say this or not, but, well, we all know, but very vocal session, so. I took a few minutes today to stop by the Mitchell News Journal just because I wanted to seek some clarity on the conversations I've seen circulating, Facebook and social media and all of that, and I strive myself on being very diligent about making sure the public is aware of when we have meetings, and I go out of my way to always post the agendas. And so I did go and get a paper, and both of these papers that ran the notices were July 20th and then also July 27th. So they did run the public notices in there, and then I also had posted the agendas on my campaign page for the people that follow that page to be notified about that, and as well as our 88 YouTube subscribers that are coming in regularly to watch this. But I did get a little tickled at old Jerry Cubitt saying that he was unaware, because it does seem that he uses Mitchell News Journal quite often to run his legal notices. It's the same newspaper and the same section that we ran our legal notice, and it seems that February the 8th, we also ran a executive notice. February the 1st, another notice. January 25th, 2 more notices. January the 18th, another notice. January the 11th. And so it goes back all the way up until when we ran our public notice. And so it's a little silly, and I'm a little tickled that he said that he doesn't use the newspaper. So.
Commissioner Hart?
Mr. Hardy's been quiet. Been good boy. I promised my wife and my son that I would be. As a public servant, you try your best to do the due diligence of the citizens of Mitchell County. And that's what I and this board have tried to do. When it becomes a personal attack against you on Facebook, then it's hard to maintain and control. When it's a personal attack on your family, it's hard to maintain and control. And I have a very tough skin. I will defend my board members and our actions. And I will do that correct. But when you come after my family, you've crossed the line. Now, folks, I'm going to say this. Most of what's been put out in this community about the subdivision ordinance is totally false. A lot of the stirring is it's going to cause some people that might want to develop land to have to spend a little bit more money to do it correct. We're not taking anybody's property. We're not telling you what you can do with your property. We're not doing any of that. You heard the ordinance read by County Manager Alan Cook. And a copy of that same ordinance will be published in the Mitchell News Journal for everybody to read.
I hope that everybody is watching live stream. You've heard the accusations. You've heard the truth. We're not trying to hide anything here. We didn't have any private meetings. We posted as we were supposed to post, just like statute said we were supposed to do. But all of a sudden, we've stepped on somebody's toes. That it's going to cost them a little bit more money to do it correct. I think Ashley Bean said it correctly. Do you want to pull somebody out of a burning house that's passed away and explain to their family members why you couldn't get there? Do you want to explain to a family member why EMS couldn't get there on a heart attack or a broken bone or a severe cut? So if you want to know what's going on, attend the meetings. We have nothing to hide. Come to your county manager at any time, make an appointment. He's very open and will explain to you and is very professional and will represent this county well as he has done since he was been county manager. On a different note, and a very positive note, we are doing a Mitchell County drug awareness event at Bear Creek Baptist Church in the Celebrate Recovery facility. That will take place on Wednesday, March 1st. It is to educate not only our young people, but our parents, our grandparents that are raising young people on the effects of drugs, the new drugs that are coming into our county. Fentanyl, it looks like M&Ms, that our children have no clue. This started out as a youth league recreation thing. So we're going to bring all youth league basketball players, invite those, their coaches, their parents. Now it's turned in, we're going to invite church youth to come in there. It'll be divided into 2 separate age groups. We'll hopefully have some fun activities for the kids to where it can keep their attention, but we'll also have real life explanations and presentation from law enforcement of what can happen if your child by mistake takes this unknowingly, that a friend has given them an M&Ms or a Skittles, a friend unknowingly, and it's fentanyl in your child house. So this is an awareness thing. I want to thank the county manager. You know, this sort of got on my heart after I talked to Ashley Bean, and he made me aware of what was coming into our county. And in one arrest, there was enough fentanyl there to kill half of this county. It's a lot of dope. So I want to thank county manager for pulling this off on short notice. Celebrate Recovery, Bear Creek Baptist Church, all the people that were involved. And please spread this throughout your community. Commissioners, I hope you'll be able to be there. I know we've got 1, 2, 3 youth league coaches, 1 youth league father sitting here that plays. And Miss Masters is going to come as the cheerleader. She's not coaching, since you're not coaching or having kids, but seriously, this is, I hope we have a great attendance with this. You know, if it can save one life, it's worth it. So, thank you guys for your support and allowing me to be part of this board.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say. I do want to say that as far as the ordinance goes, I came in it a little differently than the others on the board. I didn't know all the ins and outs because I wasn't involved. So I had to take some time myself and educate myself. I had to go and I sat down with the inspector. I had spoke with county manager and tried to better educate myself so I would understand exactly what it meant. So I would ask that, you know, anyone who has questions to be sure that, you know, you let those be known. I appreciate everybody showing up tonight and speaking, you know, that's part of our privilege. But I ask that you take some time and look over the ordinance and educate yourself. So that when you come up with a question, and you address it, that it can be answered, hopefully, you know, but help you to better understand it. And so, appreciate it, Mr. Rowe.
Steve, I did have one more comment. So we had our first transportation meeting, with the High Country Council this week that I attended. And I don't remember, was some gentleman had reached out to me this was probably maybe that was concerned about guardrails. Yes. He, the gentleman that said that is going to be scheduled to make sometime in the next month or so. Statistically, they have to have accidents to put them in, but he said that he's willing to come to school based on the video that I had seen him on today and Christian Street Road, running his off those. So he is willing to come in, and on a funnier note, the infamous guardrail right there near Bonnie and Clyde's, I think we're gonna work on getting some signage right there, so that maybe it'll stop getting hit every other week. So,
That's an expensive deal.
yes, it is.
Appreciate that. I'll just echo one thing. I'll say, you know, appreciate this board and what you guys do. That's not, like you said, Jeff, we try our best to do what's best for this county based on, you know, the opinions of everybody. So, you know, I know a lot of people have different feelings for things, and, you know, that's the beauty of democracy. You can come in here, you can voice your concerns, you can tell Steve Fitton to get the heck out, and, you know, and that's the nice thing about democracy. And, you know, I appreciate people that are willing to stand up for something they believe in, and they'll come out here and talk about it. And, you know, tonight was a very good meeting. I thought we, you know, had some passionate people here. I thought it went really well. We didn't have anybody, you know, showing their butt, and, you know, I appreciate that, but I wouldn't expect anything less out of Mitchell County. So, you know, thank you guys for what you do, though. It's not an easy job sitting up here, and appreciate it. It's fun to work with. Just wanted to talk one little thing. Last night I went to the High Country Council of Governments meeting and met the new contacts for the North Carolina Department of Insurance. They redistrict our region. So we're now in region 10, which actually didn't affect us. We were always in region 10, but some of the other counties moved out of our region. But we've got a new contact. His name is Ken Green, is the Department of Insurance. He's the liaison to the Commissioner of Insurance. So I've got all of his contact information. If you guys need anything, and that goes to Tommy, same. You know,
Been to see me.
as you came to see, we're good. That's you know, seems like a good guy that's got, you know, he seems to care about the counties, and so I've got his contact information. If you guys need anything from him. And just last night, the one thing they did cover was the annual report of the High Country Council. And on average, you know, all the different councils of governments across North Carolina, the return on investment for every dollar in membership dues generates about 30, I think it's $32 or something like that. For the High Country, it's actually $80.42. So last year they moved 16.5 million in state and federal funds throughout the High Country region, which, you know, we were the recipient of some of that money. So you know, I think the High Country is doing a good job, and, you know, I appreciate what they do for Mitchell County, and, you know, look forward to continuing to work for them. And the one thing that was said last night that, you know, and we all know this, but if we need something, we just need to raise our hand and ask. You know, they're willing to help go to bat for it. So that's all I've got. Have a motion to adjourn. So, a copy of the flyer.
Thank you all.